Welcome back. In my last analysis video, in which I went through a bunch of Lichess rapid games, I still had several left to go. Because I've been putting that off for a few days, these videos tend to get tedious. I'm trying to make them quicker, but anyway, I still have a few more to go. The good news is, all the ones I want to look at today, except one, I won. Now that doesn't mean I didn't make any mistakes. There might still be something to look at in those games, something to find, but I had a pretty good run, 6 or 7 games in a row, except for one in the middle that I lost. But we're going to look at all these. I'm just going to look at the points at which I made a mistake. I have the first one pulled up and already gone to the point at which I made my first mistake. The move list says I played knight to e4. Okay, and that's my only mistake of this game. What should I have done? Should I have played e3 to... No, because that would have... No, that wouldn't have given up the knight because the queen... I mean the pawn. The queen would have still been defending the pawn. So that would have kicked the knight back out. The knight had just come in here. So should I have attacked it immediately? That's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to click the Z key to turn this back on, and no, I should have taken that pawn down there. My only move. That's the only move that maintains what little advantage that I have here is taking the G7 pawn with my rook. And then it says that they would play knight to E5 to, F5 to immediately attack my rook, and then I would bring it back to G2. Okay, well, what would be the problem with playing this? They would still go to knight to E5, okay, and then I would play bishop to D3. And then they would play G6, and then I would go here, and they would bring this back, and we would just be even. But the other way, I would have gotten a pawn, so I guess that's where the +1 comes from? Okay, I guess. But anyway, what happened after I played that, it is their best move to take my bishop, so, you know, they did, and I took back. And then they were still supposed to play knight to f5, but my opponent apparently enjoyed having this knight here in the middle, unprotected, and they got that queen out to protect it. That's a huge blunder because I can just take their queen. So I did, and then they took back, and then after they took back, they resigned. Did they play that move really quickly? No, they spent 4 seconds on it. I mean, that's kind of quickly for a rapid game, but not really quickly. I mean, they would have had a very slight advantage if they had just played knight to f5. But anyway, they did that, and, you know, so let's look at the next game. Okay, in this game, even though I won and it was fairly short, it said I had 3 blunders. And there's really no way that I know of on Lichess to find out the point at which you made the blunders without having this, you know, the eval bar on, or these, you know, the colored moves showing up here in the right column. But if you have those showing up, then it shows you what you should have played. I'm going to try not to look at the move list, and we're just going to click through until the points at which I made my blunders. I played the English opening, and then it says that, okay, that was their blunder, and then I blundered back. Okay, what should I have done? Just a few games ago, I think it may be on the other site, when they put this bishop here, the only move was to defend that pawn. But this time that's a blunder. So should I have castled and just given up the pawn? Should I have hopped my knight in here where they could take it and then I would take and my bishop would... Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe it's knight to d5. I'm going to guess that. No, it's not. Okay, well, never mind then. It's d4. All right, which is very similar to... No, in the other game that I'm thinking of, where it said I absolutely had to play b3 to defend that pawn, I had already played d4. And I think the blunder in that game was taking here, and they said, nope, you should have left the pawn there and defended this. But I thought this was very similar. They're attacking this undefended pawn. So knight to d5 would have been my 3rd best move, but it also would have been counted as a blunder because I would have lost most, if not all, of my advantage. But what would be the problem with that? They would take with the bishop. Nope, sorry, it changed its mind. It says they would drop this back. Bishop to b6 or bishop to f5. Or taking the knight. Any of those would have left me with a really minuscule advantage. And if they had dropped this bishop back, then I would have castled. If they had moved this bishop up to f5, I would have played d4. If they had taken here, I would have taken with the pawn. And then I assumed they would have had to move that knight someplace. Okay, so that would have been bad. I had to play d4. That's my only move. And they're going to take here, giving up their bishop. Well, just humor me for a second. What if they just moved this bishop and didn't lose it? Like that. Then I play d5. Okay, then backing up. Why don't they take here then? Why is that a problem? Because I'll take back, and again, they have to take here and give up their bishop. Okay, so I guess the situation's the same, that if they drop this back, then I'll push forward. It'd be just the same for them if they castled, according to that. Or they could take d4 with their knight, in which case I would take their knight for a pawn, like so. And then they would play bishop to g4, and I would just get my queen out of danger, and I would be up a piece for a pawn. Okay, wow. Well, the reason I'm spending so much time on this is because one of the things that I've been consistently failing at over the last couple of months, I might have been failing at it before, it just wasn't so acutely apparent to me as it has been over the last couple of months. Two things. One is that I never know when to move my rooks, and when I do move them, I don't move them to the right ranks or files. Almost always. The other is pawn breaks. I'm almost never certain when to move my pawns, or which pawn to move. And I've been consistently failing at this, so b3 was my second best move, but it's not nearly as good as this. And I think it's taking a while to sink into my dense, brainular region, and I think that I'm going to win one of the bishops or one of those pieces for the pawn. But I've got to be able to see that because they don't have any other recourses. Here it says their second best move is actually just to play queen to c8 and let me have the bishop. But their best move is to take the pawn that I didn't defend and let me have this bishop. And they're not going to take here and try to trade queens because they're down a piece. They're going to push past, and I'm going to want to play queen to a4, and they'll castle, and I'm just going to leave my queen there even though the knight's not pinned anymore once they've castled, and then I'll castle. Well, I wouldn't have guessed queen to a4. No, it's changed its mind. b3 now. Okay, well, that I would have guessed. But, sorry, I distracted myself. I have to know that this wins a piece for a pawn. I don't know why it's taking me so long to see that, even though I've said it out loud to myself about, I don't know, probably 10 times. You're probably getting tired of me saying it by now, but it just doesn't look like it. That's the thing. I need to absorb this. I need to get it into my head that in this situation, and I may never come across this exact situation before, although I might, because I do sometimes run into opponents that are similar to me in that they are trying to develop all their pieces. And I think that's why I failed here, because I wasn't thinking tactically. I was thinking like a beginner, because I've been training myself like a beginner over the last year or so, trying to develop all my pieces to save squares, to protect the things I've already developed. And that's what I was thinking here, because I missed it in a few games ago. I need to protect that piece is what I was thinking. I need to then develop my bishop to the square that the b pawn left. Then I need to castle. That's what I've been working on, and I think that's why I failed here, is because my opponent was doing the same thing as me, and I should have not only been thinking about protecting what's already developed, thinking about developing other pieces and castling, I should have been thinking about the mistake that they made when they developed all their pieces. And that mistake was that these two pieces, the knight on c6 and the bishop on e6, are ripe for the picking if I can get a pawn to d5. And I can get a pawn to d5 by pushing this one forward to d4. If they don't take it then, with the pawn, then I don't need to put it to d5 because I can take this bishop. And if they get that bishop out of danger, I can push it to d5. And if they take it, I can put another one there, again poised to get to d5 or take this bishop, whichever thing that they don't protect. Or in the case of the last-ditch effort where they take with the knight, then I get the knight for a pawn. Okay, I think I got it. But what was actually played was b3, as you know. But then my opponent messed up here. And I left the lines on, didn't I? But I'm trying not to look at them. I think what I played was castling. And it's really hard to see that without seeing what I should have played. But I'm going to guess that it was d4 again. Okay. It's not as big this time, but I'm still missing this. Okay. So I castled. That was a mistake. We're back to even. They came over here. Now, I have learned not to take here because that queen ends up right there. And then my king can't move. I've learned to wait to let them take me, and then I take back here. So I'm guessing I should have played d4 again. Yep, I should have played d4 again. Oh, I did play d4. Okay, so that one wasn't a mistake then. I just started assuming I had made a mistake on every move. But yes, I do often play d4 in the English, but only after I've castled. And that's what I missed here, is that I could have played it before while their bishop was still back there, because they wasted a move here, right? I think. They had to get their bishop out first, then get the queen behind it, then put it over here. But when they parked it on e6, that's when I should have struck in the middle. What I've been doing is waiting until I have this knight guarding that, waiting until my king is out of the center, and then playing d4. So that's why I played it here, and it was my best move at this point. I had just, missed all the excitement. Well, they took it, which allowed me to take back, and they either need to drop this bishop back or take here. But instead, they pushed that bishop forward, and the problem with that... Oh, now it says I need to take here. Was this my other blunder, not taking there? In the past, Stockfish has always said, don't take that, let them take me. Well, here what I did was I went about my development, and that's a blunder because I didn't take this bishop. But wait, if I took this bishop and their queen comes down, what do I have? Knight to f4? That's what it says. Okay, that's not really attacking their queen. It's just going to go home. And then I'm going to play knight c to d5. Okay. And they're going to take it. And I'm going to take it, aiming at this bishop, which has nowhere to go. Is that it? I'm trapping this bishop? Not really, because I can't get there fast enough. And then they're going to... Oh, it says they're going to... Oh, they might. At first it said they were going to go back, but no, they're going to long castle. Why am I up? Why am I up? I'm not ahead any pieces yet, because now I can do this. Then they're going to drop back, and now I'm going to play bishop to e3. Okay, I'm still ahead +2 for some reason. Even though I'm not ahead any pieces, they're going to bring this h-rook over to aim at the defended bishop. I'm going to play a4. And at some point, aren't they going to play a6 to escape? It says that it would be even worse if they did that. I don't know why. It says they're going to play rook to e4. And then I'm going to play b5. Nope, it's changed its mind. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take the bishop. The engine thinks probably better to take this way. And then I'm going to play a5. Are they going to take it? Yeah. And then I'm going to not take it. I'm going to push past. They're going to put their knight back here. Then what am I going to do? Oh, then I'm going to take the pawn. Okay. I'm still not ahead any pieces. And I followed this line out a long ways. Their absolute best move is, whoops, it changed its mind, but it thought queen to e7 was pretty good. I need to get my rook all the way back here now. Or put my queen over here. b3, okay. I'm up +3 now. I still don't know why. Okay, well, I tried to do what some people have told me, because in the past I've looked at the line, just, the first 3 or 4 that are showing up there, and I've said, oh, I don't know why that's winning. And repeatedly people have commented saying, oh, you have to follow the line out further to see what the idea is. But usually when I do what I did just now, I just waste 5 or 10 minutes because I followed the line out a long ways and I still don't know why I'm ahead. So back to the game. That was a blunder because I should have taken this bishop and I would have been ahead, but as you saw, I don't know why I would have been ahead. Okay, so my opponent blundered by playing a move that Stockfish very often recommends. And I just saw it again. I saw it because I didn't turn it off, and if I turned it off, I won't know where the blunders are. I should have taken this bishop again, but it's probably going to be just like last time, so I'm not going to follow that line out. But my second best move was d5. Is that what I played? Nope. Oh, I moved my rook. I told you, every time I move my rook, it's wrong. Not every time, but 99.9999% of the time, it's wrong. That one was. Oh, right. Was that even it wasn't in the top 3, but d5 was. I did see that, though. That seemed reasonable. But yep, I moved a rook to line up with their king, thinking, I can move this knight someplace. And they should have taken here, and I would have taken... Wait. It says if they took here, I wouldn't have taken back. Oh, because I could have jacked and taken back this way. That makes sense. They didn't castle or take my bishop. They pushed the pawn again, and again I'm supposed to take this. But now I did this instead. Oh, and they resigned. Yeah, I didn't even know I was ahead here. I will just say that. So it struck me, with some surprise that my opponent resigned. I had used 40 seconds of a 10-minute game. My opponent had used just over a minute, 68 seconds, because I wasn't convinced I was winning. It says their best move is bishop to e6. And then I would play d5, which would be a fork of those 2 pieces. Well, I hadn't thought that far ahead. I thought they were going to block this with the knight or move out of check. And then I was going to take this. And I thought if I'm a piece ahead, I might be okay. But then I thought they're going to take my g-pawn with that h-pawn. That's the whole reason they shoved it all the way up there, right? And then if I took back, they have a queen and a rook on an open h-file. Maybe not exactly there in that order, you know what I'm saying? But they're going to be able to get there fairly quickly, because my knight's over here and this pawn's gone. My opponent had some sixth sense here. I guess they were taken by surprise with this check, and it was enough that they resigned after just a few moves here. But I do understand this blunder and the following mistake. I think I understand that I just have to see those 2 pieces and the fact that I can get a pawn in there one way or the other. I don't understand the other ones when I was failing to take that bishop, because like I said in the past, it's always been a mistake to take that bishop and get a queen over here. That queen prevents me from castling. I think in this case I was already castled, but then my king's over here and that queen prevents my king from moving anywhere, which is dangerous. So yeah, that part I didn't understand, but I do understand this part. I'm going to go on to the next game. All right, in this one, the game review, the little graph at the bottom said that I made a mistake here on move 5, and it was a mistake to take this knight. So I'm guessing what I should have done is played knight to f6 here, or e6. I really don't know, but I don't know why it was a mistake, but I'm going to turn the thing back on here and take a look. No, should have played knight to d7. Or, okay, knight to f6 is up there, and e6 is up there, right? Number 1 and 2. But why was this a mistake? What did it give them? They take back, and my best move is e5. Nope, it just changed. Knight to d7 again. But why is my opponent ahead? I know they have 2 center pawns and I don't, but I mean, that one's not going to make it, right? Because I have the C pawn. Also, in the Caro-Kann defense, very often my opponent has center pawns where I do not, and I have to really fight to, to get around and get this D pawn. Okay, well, I don't understand why I was ahead. I don't know if my opponent understood why they were ahead, but they were ahead for quite a while according to the graph down at the bottom, until about here. Move 22, we're nearly even. It's very close to even here for something like 10 moves. So I took that, we worked our way around, moving our rooks, moving our kings. Look, that time I moved my rook and it wasn't a blunder. I'm really proud of that. But I don't know exactly why it wasn't a blunder. That pawn was undefended and they defended it. I mean, I can go here, but is that the best place for the rook? I don't know. About 4 more moves here. Looks like we both played okay. I protected that pawn. I didn't. Okay, they locked that up. And I thought that was better for me because I have a knight. Right, this knight can hop in here. It can aim at that pawn. It can do things. So I did hop it in there. They took that rook and I took back. Now my rook's on the only open file on the board. And they did that, which allowed me to take this pawn. Was that my best move? That was their mistake. And they were never ahead or even again. And I did take the pawn. I'm just going to see if that was... Okay, that was my only move. That's what I wanted to know. That allows them to have this pawn, though. But that wasn't their good move. They had to come after the knight immediately, and I would have gone back. So why was it bad for them to take this pawn? Because my knight's guarding that square. That's why. And my opponent played, a couple more moves here, and then they resigned. So I was pretty happy with the way that turned out, that what the opponent had to do once... let's backing up just a little bit more. Once I took that, and it was their turn, what they had to play was bishop to b3, and it says I would not take their b pawn. And I think in that case, it's because they could take my e pawn, and it says I would play rook to f4. What? It says if they played here attacking my knight. Well, now even though the line still says rook to f4, it says knight to f4 is my best move. But is the reason I wouldn't take this pawn because they can get this one? Oh no, it says that's fine. So that's what I would have done because that's what I said. And then they would take this pawn, and I have a bunch of moves that are even. See, that's the difference. My knight's not protecting this square. But when I jumped over here and they took this pawn, my c pawn, my knight was protecting that square. So I think that made all the difference. Is why they needed to go here and aim at this pawn instead of going here and aiming at my c pawn. But okay, so that's why that's a mistake. And I knew that was a mistake because I could just take it. How long did I spend on that move? Okay, only 2 seconds. I was pretty sure when I moved my knight there that it would be defending c6. And it was, so good job for me. Let's go on to the next game. Okay, wow. It took the game review a long time to run on this one, and the reason for that apparently was how badly I played, and Stockfish had a hard time believing that. It says I have 10, that's 9 plus 1, 10 blunders in this game, 5 mistakes. My opponent had 6 blunders and 6 mistakes. That's their blunders, I'm hovering over there, and that's their mistakes, I'm hovering over there. You can't see the entire graph, but yeah, we had a ton of mistakes and blunders, and they checkmated me after 66 moves, but they only had 2 seconds left on the clock when they checkmated me. Now, I do not suspect that my opponent was cheating in this game, and the reason I don't suspect that is because they did have 6 blunders and 6 mistakes. However, something is odd about this game, even though it says I lost 7 points, which you can't see because it's off to the left column there, cropped off of this screen. It says I lost 7 rating points for this game, which is about normal. But then when my next game started, according to the archive, my rating was the same as it was here. That seemed odd. Normally, if you lose 7 points, your rating at the next game would be lower. So I went to this person's account, and this person's account it's closed. Now, on Lichess, it doesn't say why it's closed. Like sometimes on the other site, when an account's been closed for cheating, it'll say on there, this account is closed for violations of the fair play rules or, fair play policy, whatever they call it. And there'll be a little, red circle with the slash through it that indicates they were banned. This doesn't have that. This just says this account was closed. But also, around the same time, I got a notification on this site that said something like, you lost rating points recently to someone who violated our terms of service. So those rating points have been refunded. And it said, rapid rating refund, 7 points. So I'm guessing it was this opponent, because it's the only one I could find recently in my archive where my rating after the loss was the same in the next game. And that was the case here. So I lost the 7 points here, but Lichess gave those points back to me. But again, I don't think I should have gotten the points back because it looks like I lost to this opponent fair and square. According to the graph, I'll scroll down again, you can see there's places where I was ahead. For 2 turns here and 2 turns here. That's it. I wasn't ahead at any other point in the game. But for those 2 places I was ahead, and for just a moment here I was drawn. So yeah, so if my opponent was using an engine during this game, they weren't using it consistently, or they weren't using it well. I don't even know how you would do that. I think I've mentioned that before. I barely have enough time to think of my own moves, in a certain amount of time. I don't know that I would have enough time to see what my opponent played and then enter that move. And I guess you would do it on I don't know. I don't even want to speculate because I don't want to give anyone ideas, but it just seems like then you'd have to wait several seconds for the engine to tell you moves, because the first one it gives you isn't the one that it decides on very often, at least during analysis. I have no idea. But anyway, I don't think they cheated here. I'm going to look at the couple of places where I was ahead and see what I lost. I was ahead here plus, not a lot, but nearly +2. And what I played was I captured this pawn here, but I should have not done that. Okay, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have taken this because that's defended. Guess I could have or I could have pushed that pawn to defend. No, because then they're still going to take it, right? I could have put the knight in here and attacked the rook. Put the knight here to attack the knight. No, I have no idea. What does it say? I should have played bishop to d5. Oh, okay, that's one of the things I said, isn't it? But then why wouldn't they have taken here? And what good would that do? Oh, it would put another attacker on the knight. Okay, so even if they took the pawn, I would get their knight for free, right? If I played here, their best move is to get the knight out of danger, but if they had taken here, then I protect the bishop by taking the knight. But then aren't they going to keep coming after the bishop? But then I could protect it this way. Oh, also I'm about to get a free pawn over there. It says their best move at that point would be to sacrifice their rook for this knight. Well, I don't think they would have found that unless they were looking at an engine, because that seems like you losing points of material. How bad would it have been if they played d5? I just would have slid back. Okay, that's what I thought. And then their best move is to bring this bishop back. No, it's changed its mind. Their best move is to line the rooks up here. But I would have been ahead. I would have been ahead if I had played bishop to d5. I also would have been ahead if I had played, nope, not that one. Bishop to d5 or bishop to d2 would have been not as far ahead, but it also would have been great. And so that would have pinned the knight to the queen and attacked it with my rook. It says if I had played bishop to d2, they would need to play bishop to f2, which is here, which attacks this rook. And then I would take the knight attacking their queen. They would move their queen over, and I would leave that rook there. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, see that. Okay. I don't understand. Okay. So anyway, I did that, and now I'm back to being behind again for a few more turns, but here my opponent blundered, and suddenly I have +2 now. That's an even bigger lead than before, and what I played was b4. Okay, that seemed natural because it seemed like they might be attacking here, plus I could attack the rook if I did that. But I should have, sorry, I couldn't help but seeing it, so I didn't get a chance to guess. I should have played bishop to d4, my only move. +3 if I play bishop to d4, which I understand points here, but what else does it do? Oh, it gets out of the way of my rook protecting my queen, but everything else fails. Yeah, I don't know what bishop to d4 does. If I had played that, maybe I would be using an engine, or maybe I just would have said, oh no, I don't know what to play, and I just moved this. But instead I played b4. How long did I spend on that? I spent 5 seconds. That's a reasonable amount of time in a 10-minute game. But my opponent blundered again by taking that back, and it was bishop to d4, only move. But then what would I do after that? I don't know, because I don't know why I moved a bishop to d4. It's not, oh, come on. Okay, well, I went over those 3 spots on the graph where it went up and down, and I didn't understand any of those. But again, the rating points that I lost in this game were refunded to me, even though I personally do not suspect, even after looking at this review here, I don't suspect that my opponent was cheating in this game. If so, they were cheating very badly. I assume they must have somewhere else. They violated some policy because their account got closed. And I had a couple of more games that I hope to get through today, but I didn't. I ran out of time. I've got other things to do. But I think I understood a lot of what went on here, and I think I did learn something about that d4 a couple of games ago where I had to play d4, hoping for d5, but if I didn't make it to d5, I would get that bishop on c5, right? I think that's what that was. And I think I went over that enough that I drilled that into my head. Maybe, I'll start to recognize a pattern if I see that in the future, and I'll play the d4 in the English before I castle, if that situation presents itself. Anyway, if you understand any of what went on here in this last game, those 3 positions that I just went over, please let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate you spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.